Hey, and welcome back to the CSUSB Advising Podcast. This is Matt Markin, and hosting with me is.
Olga Valdivia, happy to be here.
And we're changing it up a little bit on this episode of the podcast. This is more geared for our incoming first time freshmen that are starting in the fall 2025 semester. For you, you have already attended your new student orientation, a 2-day orientation, and hopefully you enjoyed it. But we kind of wanted to recap all of that and give you our tips as you head into the fall semester. So, Olga, we had parts during orientation. What do you remember seeing during orientation with our incoming students?
I think more than anything, there's a lot of excitement, but also with that excitement comes some nerves, right? About what to expect for the coming year. But I think of that as a great opportunity to really immerse yourself into your college education and make the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll unpack a lot of that. You had a lot going on over those 2 days, a lot of individuals that you chatted with, that you got to meet. You got packed time with your orientation leaders and other students in your pack. So hopefully you remember a lot, made a lot of friends. But just to kind of recap a lot of it, you had various welcomes, videos that you had to watch. Maybe your parent or family member also attended with you on day one. But you had an advising presentation from our office, a lot of information about graduation requirements. There was a resource fair, so a lot of different departments, clubs, and organizations that hopefully not only got free stuff from at their tables, but actually learned a lot about what their departments do and how you can benefit from them as a resource. You got to meet some of the faculty within your academic college, maybe in the form of a panel where you got to ask questions, or potentially if you were in your science major, you might have had a actual presentation from your professor in your major. There was some time you spent in the computer labs with us in advising, where we helped you kind of look at your class schedule, maybe show you how to switch around some classes, showed you some of the advising tools like your pause report, which is your degree audit, and your course major roadmap. And then you also had some presentations from campus safety and our Title IX equity and compliance office. You had a lot of activities you did with your orientation leaders. And you also got to meet some other individuals, such as your ASI president, had some different reflection opportunities and workshops, and learned a little bit about financial aid and money management and what it is to be a coyote. So already having said all that, I'm already exhausted.
Absolutely. And the one thing I think about orientation is it's 2 days, it's exciting. There's a lot of information packed. And of course, we don't expect that you're going to remember all of that information, right? But hopefully you took the big tips from the orientation so that, we can make it a successful year.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've received a lot of kind of commonly asked questions from many of you throughout the various orientations that we attended. And Olga, I know one of we got was, well, what's the difference between high school and college? How would you help Yodis answer that question?
You know, I think that one of the biggest things they're going to notice is we don't have a set schedule the way they're used to having in high school. Most students are in class between 8 and 3:30, right? And so a lot of our brains are already geared to absorb the information during those hours. All students have been pre-enrolled in courses, and so schedules may be all over the place. I think that's one of the first things to pay attention to, because like I said, we're wired a certain way, and now we're switching it up. But I think students need to pay attention to, like, when they learn best. Are they a morning person, or do they like learning later in the day? These are things that are going to help you be successful, right? Because if you're taking a night class, well, that's not going to serve you well, if that's not what you're used to. Um, a big change is going to be maybe the workload, right? Maybe in high school last year might have gotten a little easier or more difficult because of maybe AP classes, things like that. Now at a 4-year university, on average, students are adding about 5 classes a term, right? At least 12 or more units. And some classes may be in person, whereas others may be online. So it's going to be a mix of classes, and kind of bringing it back to make sure that you're dedicated, that you're reserving time for not just studying, but also if you have activities that you're going to be a part of while you're going to clubs. Are you joining a sorority, that sort of thing? So there's going to be other aspects to college life.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you were kind of mentioning with like high school, yeah, it's very much was very structured. You had periods 1 through 6, or maybe even had zero period or seventh period, but you got up, you had your routine, you went to school, had your the various classes. It's kind of basically the same schedule Monday through Friday. And as you're mentioning, yeah, we pack and roll the students in the classes. They might have a class that's twice a week on Monday, Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. They might have a class that's Tuesday, Thursdays in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. They might have the online classes. They might have that mixture of some online and in-person classes. So very different type of structure going on with classes in college versus high school. But kind of like what you're saying, they have a lot of open times. So that leads to what we call student responsibility. There's a lot more flexibility with college, but also a lot more demand on students in terms of their studying after class, or before they have their next class. Because something I think students will notice from the beginning when they attend college is there's no bells to tell students when class starts, when class ends. There's professors are not going to maybe have a lot of homework for students, not a lot of extra credit for students. So their grade might only be based off just some tests or exams and maybe an assignment here and there. So drastically different than in high school.
So another thing that comes to mind for me is a lot of new changes for all of you freshmen, right? Maybe some of you are learning to drive, right? Maybe you're going to be commuting to campus by bus. These are all going to be new things to get accustomed to and kind of add into your new daily routine, whatever that may be. So it's going to also be important to consider how much additional time do I need to prepare to get myself to school.
Yeah, so definitely kind of factoring, yeah, that amount of time that maybe I need to get up and get ready. But if I need to travel to campus for my classes, maybe there's some traffic, need to park when I get here, how much time that's going to take. So yeah, great advice there. Now you were mentioning a little bit about AP. You mentioned AP classes. That's
Yes.
also a question we get is about AP and IB exam scores. What would you want new students to know about that?
Okay, so if you guys took AP courses and took the exam, usually we're getting scores around July. It's important that if you are enrolled in a course that maybe you've already taken as an AP, that you're meeting with us advisors so that we can help you adjust your schedule if you need the support. But really, we don't want students having to repeat a course they've already completed. So maybe thinking about switching the class, or we have until August, right? Until to be able to make changes to our schedule. So I'd say if you don't have the perfect schedule, that's okay, right? We can adjust your schedule as we get closer or until we have those official scores in hand.
Yeah, and I think that also connected to that would be community college transcripts as well. Is making sure you get your AP and IB scores sent to us, but also any coursework that you did at the community college. Because even if the community college classes show up on your high school transcript, we can't take it off of there to give you credit on your pause report, and we won't know what requirements you may already have completed based off that college work or your AP and IB scores. So please make sure you send those to us. But also kind of connected to what you're saying about changing up the class schedule. Because if we pack enrolled a student into some classes and then we get their college transcript or we then get their AP or IB scores, they may already get credit for something that we've already pack and roll them into a course for. So we definitely want to be able to change up those classes as well. But I think this also leads into kind of connected to that is like, well, what do we do as advisors in the academic advising office? I know sometimes students might think kind of compares to maybe their high school counselor equivalent. how would you define like what we do, how we can help students?
Well, I think that every advisor has their own style, right? But more than anything, we're here as a support for students to help them understand how to read their pause report, understand the campus policies, assist them in switching, swapping courses. Not only do we help with that, but we also like to provide different resources based off the student's individual needs. And a lot of the time, we're connecting students with other campus partners.
Yeah, so in a sense, we're kind of like a guide to students, which I think for new students to know is like you have an assigned advisor, academic advisor within our academic advising office, or if you don't, you're assigned to our office in general. So you have an office, you have someone that you can connect with and ask questions to. If you log into your My Coyote account and go to your student profile, there'll be a part on there that shows our office, your assigned advisor, their email address. So you have someone, if you have a question, you're not sure where to go, who to ask your assigned advisor. If we don't have the direct answer, a lot of times we'll at least know who to direct you to or what department to direct you to. So never feel like you're going at it alone. You have Olga, you have myself, you have our various colleagues in our office that are here to help you throughout your whole time at CSUSB.
And also, if you forget, if you don't have a scheduled appointment, you can always do a drop in with our peers.
Yeah, and then those drop-in hours might change depending if we're in the summer or our regular hours. But you can always check our csusb.edu /advising. That's our website, and we'll have our drop-in information there. But we offer drop-ins both in person and virtually. So no appointment required for that, but you can definitely get some of those quick questions answered for you during our drop-ins.
All right, so just to circle back in terms of editing your class schedule, because I did mention some schedules may be all over the place and you might want a 2-day schedule, or you're okay having classes 5 days a week. Whatever that looks like for you, you have the opportunity to edit your schedule. You can swap classes. If you're not feeling very confident in terms of what to switch into, of course, we're here to help. But yes, you can adjust your schedules. And one question that has came from that is, what is USTD 1000? So USTD 1000 is a course that's taught, and this year, all freshmen are enrolled in this USTD course. It's something that I'm really excited about because we as advisors get to teach this course, right? And in this course, not only are students learning about how to navigate their new college life, right? We provide a lot of different resources through the class, study habits. We're talking about things that are happening in our environment at the time. And it's just a lot of fun and a good place to make new friends, right? Because a lot of the activities are going to be group activities and um, understanding the different resources on campus and having that buddy system. So I'm looking forward to it and to see who all is in my class, right? But I hope that all students are looking at this class as an additional support, which it is. Not only are you getting that extra unit of enrollment, and that counts towards your 120 units towards graduation, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that.
And I know you get to teach it. You taught it last year, and I know how much you've enjoyed it. And I know students that are going to be in your class, and students in any of the other of our colleagues' sections of USD 1000A. I know they're really looking forward to teaching this class as well. So, Yodis, you get to build community with being a first-year student, and learn those success tips of being a college student and navigating being at CSUSB. And then just as a reminder, too, in terms of deadlines, depending on when you're listening to this podcast episode, just make sure you get all your transcripts in, especially your high school transcripts, by the July deadline. If you're listening to this afterwards, hopefully you've already got your transcripts in. But I think this could also be something, too, that we can segue into. As we've talked about class schedules. students have attended orientation. One thing you'll receive or have access to in the beginning of August is something called Coyote Experience. It's going to be a Canvas course, which you'll have access to through your My Coyote account. And if you're listening to this prior to August, it should be available by August 4th. It'll show up as a Canvas course, and it'll have various modules from what to expect and how to thrive in your first year. What is academic success? What is academic advising? Although we kind of talked about it already on here, various campus resources, and finding that community within your first year. So you might hear like, oh, wasn't this similar in a way to USD 1000A? A lot of it overlaps because we want to make sure that this information, you have individuals that you can build fantastic professional relationships with. So a lot of things that you'll have access to as a CSUSB student. But Olga, I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit in terms of like, well, we have students that just attended their new student orientation. Classes for the fall semester don't start to the latter part of August. Some might be asking like, well, is there anything I should be doing in the meantime before fall starts? I feel like, I have the rest of summer. Should I just enjoy it? Any tips that you have?
Absolutely. Of course, enjoy your summer, right? We're gearing up to start your college experience. So I would hope that students are taking care of themselves, right? Self-care is very important, but also thinking about your class schedule, double checking your class schedule, making sure everything's still on track, everything looks good. But another wonderful thing to do is, where are my classes? And I know y'all have already attended orientation and done some type of tour, but there's a lot of information in those 2 days. So you, as a student, you can always come to campus, give yourself a little personal tour, go through the admissions and tours, or even pull up a digital map of our campus, which all students have access to on their phones. We have an app for it. And thinking about actually starting in August, we all need parking passes. That's something that you can take care of early through the parking services office. Yeah, so there's a couple of tips. Maybe another one, because I did have a lot of students ask about campus employment. Maybe start getting together your handshake account and maybe putting together your resume so you can start applying for jobs. Because as we know, we can't do our work without the support of students, right?
And actually great tips. And that actually got me thinking about what else could we have students do. And that might be get in the habit of checking your campus email, your student email. You're going to receive a lot of emails from various events going on campus, other departments, academic advising, your assigned academic advisor. So not that you necessarily have to check it every single day. If you do, awesome. We suggest that, but at least once or twice a week. That way you can kind of clean up your email inbox, delete emails that may not pertain to you. And then that way you can also see, oh, I forgot about this. There's something from financial aid. There's something from my advisor. Trust us. This is your campus email is kind of like your main form of formal communication with the university, with CSUSB. So even a lot of your professors in classes will send emails out to your student emails. So you want to make sure you don't miss out on any of that.
Another question that comes to mind is, what if I'm not totally sure on my major, right? So for those students that are in between majors, we're here to help support you. We also have the Career Center that can give you more information about possible careers associated with specific majors. But this is a good time to consider what it is that you want to do. And if you're not 100% sure, that's okay too. I know personally I changed my major a couple of times. And so it's totally normal if you feel like you're on the fence with your specific major. So
Yeah, I went from when I was a student here, I went from being a math major to a psychology major. So definitely I was one of those students. But that's kind of where you're in college. You're going to explore, your different interests. So don't feel like, I'm starting in one major, I must finish in this major. if you end up changing your mind, that's fine. You might take a class that sparks an interest. You might go to an event or run into someone that informs you about some other major we have here, some other course that sparks an interest. So explore those options. And just like you're saying, Olga, we got the Career Center as well, that you can work with, and they have various assessments that you can do. So yeah, don't feel like you're going it alone. A lot of different resources here on campus. But maybe we'll talk about some of the upcoming dates that you should be aware of. So yeah, maybe summer, but hey, fall classes are going to be starting in the latter part of August. If you get financial aid, typically financial aid is dispersed a couple weeks before classes start. Saturday classes for fall are going to start on Saturday, August 23rd. And then classes for the regular weekday classes are going to start on Monday, August 25th. Now, from here through the first week of classes, you're still able to change up your schedule through your MyCoyote account. Of course, make sure you meet with your advisor if you want to change classes, as well as if you're looking to change your major. But Friday, August 29th is the last day that you can add a class through your MyCoyote account if that class is open. And of course, too, again, with a lot of stuff that we've just talked about regarding deadlines, what you should know, what you did during orientation, how to be successful, who to go to for questions. Again, you have us in academic advising. So any questions that come up, please let us know. That's what we're here for. If you don't see us, then we're just waiting. So please chat with us. We want to get to know you. Olga, any last words before we end this podcast episode?
We are so excited to welcome all students. So yes, please connect with us. We're here to support you and keep cheering you on. So I hope that you are enjoying your summer before officially starting your term.